Ain't this what they been waiting for? You ready? I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, so I had to grind like that, to shine like this. In a matter of time I spent on some locked up in the back of the paddy wagon, cuffs locked on wrist. See my dreams unfold, nightmares come true. It was time to marry the game, and I said, yeah, I do. If you want it, you gotta see it with a clear eye view. Got shorty, she tryin' bless me like I said I chew, like a sneeze. Please for them trick and squeeze, I'm getting cream. Never let them get in between of what we started. Look, but I'm lying hearted. They love me when I was stuck and they hated when I departed. I go and get it regardless. Draw it like I'm an artist, no crawling. Went straight to walking with foreigns in my garages are foreign. Menaging, sucking and swallowing anything for $1. They tell me get him, I got him. I did it without an album. I did it with Mariah. Lil' I'm on fire, icy as a hockey ring, Philly flyer. When I bought the Rolls Royce, they thought it was lease. Then I bought that new Ferrari, hey to rest in peace. Hey to rest in peace to the parking lot. Phantom so big, can't even fit in the parking spot. You ain't talking about my then what you talking about? Gangsters moving silent, and I don't talk a lot. I don't say a word, was on my grind and now I got what I deserve.
I done said a whole lot of stuff, man, and nobody could hear me. What I was saying was, we're working with some new technology, and that's my fault. We got the Twitter space popping off. My guy Brandon's back. I'm Rob Odie. This is Spotlight 39 Live. Make sure you subscribe. Support the brand that supports you. That being said, Brandon, can you hear me now?
I can hear you a lot better than before.
There it is. There it is. All right, man. So first and foremost, welcome back. It's nice to have you. I'm curious as to how your refresh, relax time went. Looked pretty adventureful in your post, man. So let's start off with that, man. Just give me a snapshot of what the mountain life was like out west.
Huh, interesting. I find it hard to talk about myself, to be honest. It was a
Always.
unique experience. Yeah, you've caught on to that. It was a unique experience, to say the least. I mean, I worked while I was out there. Alabama recruiting doesn't stop. So, I was pretty much on that work grind while also enjoying some mountain life and traveling, and it was cool. But football season's here for me. Full steam ahead. 2 3 games a week. Get it going tomorrow. Was on the phone all day. Working the phone line. So the
Okay.
headshot season for me is back. So some things are changing.
All
Time,
right.
walking into the greatness. You hear me?
Look, man, I like it. I like it. Did you end up getting to any games out west, man? I know you talked about potentially pulling up on a game in Montana. Did we make that happen?
Oh, well,
I'm curious what life
well,
looked like out there.
no, it would probably would have been straight, but both the games were like 45 minutes to an hour away, and there's just a lot of factors that I didn't have control over. So let's just say it just didn't play out. But
Hey,
45 minutes for me is nothing, though. You know that.
look. Last week I was in sunny Florida, right? I flew to South Florida, but the week before I
You
drove
like
10 hours. What I mean, I drove 10 hours all the way to Carrollton. So look, driving ain't nothing, right? Traveling is what it is.
Mhm.
We taking this thing nationwide. So that being said, man, let's kick this thing off. Where do we want to start, man? Do we want to talk about what I experienced on my end back in South Florida? Want to start there, or do we want to start
Yeah,
what
go
this
for it.
week's
I
going to
mean,
look like?
you were in the trenches, so kind of give update on what you saw last week, and obviously there were some big time games on television. I think Sand played, and you were there for Smith. Among several other games. So yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, look, so I'll just give you a little recap, right? So there was, I don't know, I covered 5 games over the course of the 3 days. I think there was 2 additional games: Cardinal Gibbons from Florida versus Cardinal Gibbons in Carolina. That one I did not cover, but from the content, it looked like a heck of a game. I know it came down to the wire. Cardinal Gibbons from Florida actually ended up winning. They took the lead with about 27 seconds left, so that was pretty cool, right? That was day 2. But the first night, I went to Western, right? So we had Western versus Milton from Georgia. So Georgia team comes down, plays Western. We had some lightning delays. It's South Florida, right? The weather was a little janky. But once we got kicked off, we had a heck of a game, man. And I feel a little silly for not knowing, but I'm gonna call myself out. So I was calling him Davy, right? Davy. It's Davi Belfort, Davi. And I learned that very quick, when I saw his very large, legend of an MMA fighter father on the sidelines. I was like, okay, now I know who you are. So that's my fault. Lesson learned, but it was pretty cool. Got to meet the legend, but more importantly, got to watch his son play, man. So I'm just going to play a clip. Let me find it from the Western game. Let me play a clip that kind of just kicks it off. So speaking of Davi, we've got, very impressed with the guy's mobility. Going into it, that wasn't something that I was, taken back by, something that I saw a lot of, but that's something I got to experience firsthand in person, which is pretty cool. He broke the pocket several times, was able to get down the field, so that was interesting, right? But obviously we had, the Mecca, in Georgia, in the hotbed, Atlanta, we had Milton represent. This is tight end Ryan G, right? That's how his last name's pronounced. Talked to his pops on the sideline, was not hip to it. I was calling him Ryan Gay, right? That's kind of how it looks, but it was absolutely Ryan G. So again, lesson learned there. Learned a lot of things in South Florida, man. So that was first night, and it was pretty cool. Western came on top with what they said was the largest win in school's history against visiting Milton. So that says a lot on how we kicked off this thing down in South Florida at the Broward County Showcase, right? So then we move into night 2. Night 2, I had a little love for, right? We had Highland Springs right down the road from me in Richmond, so I had to cover that game. So they, went and played Miramar, which I wasn't very hip to Miramar, right? I was digging, man. I was trying to find some news, some history, but they got some dudes, right? So let's just play a couple of clips right here. So speaking of Miramar, right? You got young man coming off the end. I don't have my guide by me, man. I was planning to have that, so I had some names. But this young man's committed to Indiana, right? So Power 5 young man making Power 5 moves when things are needed. Came off the edge, got the sack, and then, let's just pick one of the many. We had a handful of Highland Springs, man. So you tell me, what do you want to see? Do you want to see a pretty nice sack? Do you want to see a very impactful interception that I think changed the momentum of the game? Do you want to see one of the nicest touchdown runs that I've seen in modern history? Or do you want to see a punt block, man? We had it all. You tell me.
Man, it kind of reminds me of like elementary school when they give you multiple choice and they say always pick C, so I'm gonna pick A.
Okay, so A, we're gonna go with the sack. All right, let's go with the sack. Again, almost a mirror image.
And still got him. That's crazy.
Like that. That was solid, but I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't play the interception that I feel like changed the whole swing of the game. This changed momentum, something heavy. So here you go. You take this and you enjoy it. And from that moment on, it was as if the life was kind of just sucked out of the sideline, man, and they really never could, catch up. Still came down to the wire. One heck of a game, another nail biter. Then we get into Saturday. Saturday, man, if you can tell, I'm a lobster. I got cooked, staring straight into the sun. I couldn't tell you the temperature. I just know I was very uncomfortable by the time night fell. But needless to say, we had to start off. We had the St. Francis and Shadana Madonna, right? So we had a couple of big names from both teams. Let's get into a St. Francis. Let's go with a big hit fumble. Let's just go with some action plays here. St. Francis they were hitting. They were hitting heavy all day long. Fun to watch, man. Definitely a fun matchup. But we couldn't have a Shadana Madonna highlight without a certain somebody coming in the picture, right? So who might that somebody be? I think we all know who it is, right?
I don't know if I was a guessing person. Actually, there's two options, but probably Jeremiah Smith.
Let's go. Corner of the end zone, kind of sealed the game, big time catch. So that was just a couple of the games, right? I'm not going to go into great detail because I don't have a whole lot of clips from the Bosco St. Thomas Aquinas game or the American Heritage games. I'm still digging through those, man. Obviously flying in time is not on my side, but we'll still get to a fun clip. I got to call out my guy Caleb Sanchez, man. He's definitely been through the system at Bosco. Super proud of the performance that he had. Threw for 250 or so yards, a couple of touchdowns. Went like 37. What's up?
I said, and he dipped on him too.
Yeah. So Sanchez definitely had a heck of a game. Came out strong. Super pleased with his performance. The defense was locked down. Obviously we could probably spend the next 3 or 4 minutes just naming the defense, right? That all had impact in the game. It was unfortunate we did see our guy Peyton Woodyard go down in the first drive. Good news is all is well. He should be back up and running hopefully this Friday. So shout out to the Woodyard family and Bosco family first and foremost, man. Nothing but love out there. So there was that, right? And then I'll get to one clip with the American Heritage game. At this point, I felt like I was ready to pass out. The night was over. The heat got to me, but we still got dimes in the end zone. I couldn't go to South Florida and give up. I had to go out there.
I don't blame you.
Woo! It was a lot of fun to watch, man. So that is a snapshot of what we got. All of those game highlights are available on YouTube. Minus the last two, but the game highlights are available. By all means, if you played in those games, utilize it. Screen record, clip your piece, and use it. That's what it's there for. I don't do any of the special effects and edits for that reason, man. So that's what I got. So what we got going on this weekend, man? I'm gonna take a beverage and I'm gonna let you kick this thing off.
Pretty loaded. Seems like you had a pretty loaded weekend, to say the least. I mean, you're definitely getting after it. You talked about your plans this summer, and they're definitely in fruition, huh? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Is that you showing love to a sponsor? Look at you, man.
Look. I'm trying different production, man. We got to shout out Accelerator Active Energy Drinks, man. The official sports beverage of the Spotlight 39 live show. We will be doing a case giveaway, so make sure you tap in. We'll probably do that, probably a week or two. We'll announce it on social media when we do, but it'll be a 24-pack case of Accelerator multi-flavors. My personal favorite is that Rocket Pop, man. It brings me back to the childhood and the summer days. So that's our sponsor. That's who we're fueled by. But like I said, man, or like you said, Spotlight 39, I talked about it. I said, I'm getting out there. I said, I'm going to start getting in front of people in the bigger markets where I'm done talking online. I've been talking to people online for a minute, right? I got to Florida during some 7-on-7, and I went to a couple different 7-on-7 spots in different states, but I haven't gone to Friday night lights like that outside of the one random playoff game that I was in Dallas for my day job.
That was random.
That was super random, but it worked out, man. So that was kind of cool. I got to see, probably the largest high school stadium I've ever seen in my life. And apparently that's, just one of very many normal Texas football, right?
Yeah, there's differences everywhere you go, right?
Yeah, look.
No, but I think it's exciting times. Just talking some football a little bit. For me, my schedule is about to get going. About to put it all together really tonight, tomorrow. But I will reveal a cat out of the bag. I will be at the Ramsey and Parker game tomorrow. That should be pretty exciting. Jordan Crawford, Naeem Alford, Jeremiah Beeman, just name a few. As far as what Parker has to offer. And then, Ramsey, who's defending state champs in Alabama, that's just going to be a big-time football game. To have a couple prospects from 2025 class, even in 2024, Reese, who was recently Quentin Reese, who was recently offered by Alabama. So, on that front, it'll just be good to see some tough, hard-nosed Birmingham football. to really kick off the football season, and then things will really get interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's been inspiring to see what you've been doing out there, and then ultimately just now I get to play catch up.
Yeah, that you do, man. You're already 10 games behind. Just so you're aware, I'm banging out 5 games a weekend at this point. Actually, this week
Hey,
I'm slowing it down a little bit. I'm slowing it down, man. I can't do 5 this weekend just because there's not 5 available that I can physically get to. There's
it'd
no
be pretty
showcases.
difficult. Yeah,
There's no showcases, but I will be. I will be. Let me get fancy with the graphics, man. Let me take this one off. Right, we'll slide that one out. But then we're gonna go with Thursday night. We're gonna kick things off tomorrow night. I'm going to King George. That's semi-local for me, within the hour, probably about 40 minutes or so. We get to see a couple of familiar faces, right? One of which you got to see kind of go viral in a sense at the combine, right? The All American Combine, and our guy Chance Wiggins. And then we got Makai White. Both are committed now. One Chance is Virginia Tech, and I think Makai is UMD, Maryland.
yeah,
So
both solid spots for both of them.
yep. So fantastic matchup there. They're playing a Hampton team coming from the 757. So not typically. I'm still getting notifications. I thought I turned that off. That's my fault. But Hampton's coming from the 757 to play King George, so it should be a solid matchup tomorrow night to kick the weekend off, right? But then we get fun. Then I go into the DMV, right? So I travel just outside of Baltimore, and I got Jones coming up from Florida. Jones, boy, they just had a
That's
commit,
smooth.
right?
That's smooth.
Yeah, man. So we gonna have another solid one on Friday night, but we can't stop there, man. I gotta throw
He
in
said
a
we can't stop there.
look, look,
I
look.
love it.
Look. Gotta throw in the Saturday game, right? We got Flint Hill coming to Woodbury Forest. I got to be there for the opener to see my guy Savion and my guy Dizier, right?
Okay.
2026, some of the top in the class, man. So I'm going to be there, witness their game, season opener. So that's what my weekend looks like to kick it off. So I got some big things happening. You obviously got some catch up to do, but it looks like you got some fun happening. Unfortunately, you were initially going to go out to the IMG Thompson game. I know we chatted about that offline, but obviously we want to say first and foremost, hope everybody's safe out there in Florida, man, because that storm on the radar looks pretty devastating. So unfortunately, that game was canceled. So hopefully everybody's safe and sound there. But football goes on. You call the audible. You go to a game that is available in your area, and hopefully those guys get to make that up. I'm pretty sure both teams were looking forward to that matchup, and it kind of stinks that the weather's taking advantage and taking that away from them. But that is what it is. And let me just check my comments right here. So my guy Kevin Perry, who actually runs the Broward County Showcase down in South Florida, he's tapped in, and he said the defensive end from Miramore was Shamar Meikle, Mike Meikle, I guess. McHale, maybe
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
Yep. So University of Indiana commit. I just wanted to throw that out there, and then obviously we got Messiah in the building. He's tapped in doing the graphic art thing. So shout out to Messiah down there in
Yeah, he's
Tallahassee,
been doing some
Florida.
good work.
Yeah, man, he's putting out some things for us. So we definitely appreciate that for your graphics need. Check out my guy Messiah. Throw out the tweet. Check his link out. He definitely hook you up. So let me see. What else do you want to touch in, man? Because I just seem, I got my guy E on here right now. This is my ride or die, man. This dude came with me to Georgia and then flew down to South Florida with me. So I'm sure he's probably got a little bit more detail on the recap.
Have him tap in real quick for us.
Yeah. My guy E, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Let me see. Can you hear him loud and clear? Beautiful. Technology's working. How about that, E? So let's do this, man. You missed the highlight recap. I gave it at a very high level, but I'm just curious as to what your perspective was, man, on the sidelines, being able to take it in, really kind of take some notes, and just see this high level talent, firsthand, man. It's a little different than the DMV, right?
Maybe he got disconnected.
to crowd size and, just the overall atmosphere.
Good deal, man. So, what are some things that stood out to you? Let's kind of we'll run the gauntlet, right? So, we started off with Western versus Milton out of Georgia. What stood out in that game?
So, firstly, across the board, I would say across pretty much all the games, and it is week one, so, for a lot of teams, so we keep that in mind, but execution as a whole was pretty lackluster. And I say that particularly when it comes to special teams and a lot on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, it was week one, so I can't necessarily say that it was too big of a surprise, but special teams was just, incredibly lackluster both in Georgia and in Florida.
Yeah, we saw some really poor special teams. Look, you say that. Look, I see the facial expression, Brandon, but I'm telling you, man, we seen some kicking that unfortunately, had the kicking game been a little different, special teams been a little different, these games wouldn't have been so close in some situations. In Georgia, I'm not going to call anybody out specifically, but if you look at the highlight tapes, man, the kicking game was different. And I shouted it out last week. Man. We had a young lady. I believe she was on. I want to say Brookwood, if I'm not mistaken. But the young lady that was the kicker, she was booting it. She was hitting the coffin corner kicks. I even played one of her highlights last week because she nailed it within probably 2 feet of the sideline within the 5-yard line. It was a beautiful punt, right? But then we get to Florida. We have a Texas commit kicker, right? The punting and the kicking for Bosco, St. Thomas Aquinas, loved it, right? I think St. Francis went out and got a young man somewhere from the Midwest, 4.5-star kicker. He was doing his thing. He was booting it. But then we had some other games where you were scratching your head, like, why aren't we kicking the field goal, taking the 3? But then you realize that's why that didn't happen. So that's why we talked about special. Look, I love special teams. Special teams for the win, but when it's bad, it's bad. Go ahead, E.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it went beyond the kicking game, too. We saw, really poor coverage as well down the field. Bad contain, not very form tackling, just a lot of guys out of order, basic stuff, one guy not getting behind the returner and the ball bouncing in for a touchback. Just a lot of execution issues on special teams, and offensively. But, not to go off topic, but to get back into the game, the Western game, Kobe Howard was absolutely spectacular. 4-star wide receiver.
Killed it.
He was just absolutely sensational. Ran pretty much every route in the route tree. Was able to create separation at the top of the route. Able to get the ball in space and make people miss. That's all I can say. Honestly, was Kobe Howard he stole the show for Western's offense.
Absolutely.
For what little there was in that game. But like I said, outstanding game. Davy Belfort.
There it is,
game.
Davy.
Davy, real solid game. I don't think he really made any big mistakes. Kind of kept the game in control, kept the ball moving, kept the offense in rhythm, and solid game. I was expecting to see more from Milton's receivers. Both kids being pretty high ranked. I thought that they would do more to get the ball into their hands, but it just seemed like Milton had different priorities. They tried to establish the run game, worked for a little while. Second half, not as much, and then it just, like I said, I'm just expecting them to take more advantage of the opportunities on the 3+ receivers who are both Power 5 guys. So those were my big takeaways from those two games.
I got
from
you.
that game.
Yeah. So just for the sake of time, man, we'll just give me maybe 1 or 2 nuggets from the rest of the weekend that stood out. Whether it was a big play, a standout player that just had a heck of a game. give me a couple of nuggets, that stood out to you this weekend.
Defense was on point. The Chaminade St. Francis game, the score was 35-14. Two of those for Chaminade were pick sixes. So,
Yep.
St. Francis's defense held it down once again. Jeremiah Smith and Trader, didn't look too crazy, didn't go off against them. So St. Francis defensive backs are real. Ryan Mack for St. Thomas Aquinas, the corner, had a stellar game. I don't recall him even allowing a catch, and if he did, it was for minimal gain.
Yep.
Caleb Sanchez, heck of a bounce back week. You talk about a kid that, a lot of people were dragging through the mud. He had an outstanding game against St. Thomas Aquinas. Making sure the offense was on schedule, keeping everything in rhythm. And then Highland Springs, our boys from Virginia, had a really solid game. Had a few names that, we weren't expecting to have breakout games, but ended up having pretty good, opening games. Tamondre Braxton had an interception that changed the course of the game.
How about that?
Should have had two, but he dropped one at the end of the game. He'll get it back. He's trying to set a Virginia State record for picks this year. And then Eric Bird, a 26 running back, who had an outstanding game as well. Big run for a touchdown, really set the tone for the rest of the evening for the offense. And Highland Springs came out with a win over Miramar. So, those are a few things that really stood out to me from this past weekend.
Yeah, man. And I know you can't see it right now when you watch the replay. I'm playing that big run. This dude just put on a show. And I think this young man's recruiting is probably going to change just a little bit here in the coming weeks if he keeps running the rock like that. What you think, E?
Most definitely. And, he's only a 26. So I expect him to really amp it up this season. He actually wasn't the starting running back to start the evening.
No.
And then as the game went on, he just took over. Like, he became the guy.
It was fun to watch, man. So, look, E, man, I appreciate you, with the Nuggets. It was good that you could jump on and get the high level, because obviously, filming, I see it one direction. You was on the sideline. You got to take it all in. So I appreciate that. I look forward to, having you on, Friday? He's coming down Friday. He's going to join me at the Good Counsel Jones game, man. That's how we do. Let's go. He and the best part, he's a student at Virginia Tech. Still making 3.5-4 hour drives, flying out. Look, he's in
hungry and humble. Isn't that a thing? Hungry
That's exactly
and humble.
it.
Really, you gotta start with the hungry though, for sure.
Nah, man, he's been rocking with me for 2 years now. He's man, it's fun to watch how much he's grown. You should hear one of his post camp speeches. To be frank, he's getting pretty passionate, but we won't go there tonight. So what else we want to talk about, man? What are some kids that maybe you want to spotlight that you might that you will be seeing this weekend? Any kids stand out that you're going to have an eye out for? That you hope or expect to have a big evening.
Just reiterating on some of the four I mentioned earlier. Jordan Crawford's definitely one. I think he had like 2 or 3 sacks last week.
Yep.
And I think they dominated to a 42-0 win. Seeing how Naeem Alford moves, he's really trying to vie for one of those top cornerback spots. So to see how he moves, see how he plays on the ball, especially against a team like Ramsey, who should at least take a couple of shots his way. And then Jeremiah Beeman, who is firmly committed to Alabama. Has pretty much shut things down, and seeing how he performs, and then have a Ramsey team who has some younger talent, but to see how they go up against a very stout defense at Parker, and then I have a couple other games in tow, whether that's a potential Oak Grove Hoover matchup. Oak Grove has the Maddox brothers, definitely a pair. The older brother committed to Texas A&M at quarterback.
Yep.
Younger brother, a defensive lineman with over 35 plus offers. So both of them are quite exciting. But they have Caleb Moore as well. I believe is committed to Mississippi State, but I may be incorrect there. Don't quote me on that. But Just they have several other guys who are starting to pop off as well. So, to see this Mississippi football take on, what's Hoover, the legendary program, one of the first televised programs in all of high school football, I think that's an interesting matchup. And then, I may slide in with the Saturday game as well, but, that's to be determined. I can't give all my darts, for the dart
Nah,
game.
man. Look, we'll be tapped in. We'll be looking on the Twitter and the Instagram, seeing where the little pin drop is, right? You'll lead us into
Well, I
the
don't think
stadium.
TikTok, but you will see something.
Yeah, we'll see you leading into the stadium, and then we'll get some good content thereafter. It's definitely going to be a fun weekend. And like I said, I got a handful of games, over the next couple of days. It's going to be a good matchup. I'm excited to see what pops off there. And tomorrow night, actually, I'm gonna have my guy Rock Carmichael. He's gonna be joining me at the King George game. Yeah, so he's gonna be joining me. And I reached out to my guy Torrey Smith, a little local here as well.
Him too.
Yeah, so he might. He said he might swing through just because both of those guys, played for his 7-on-7. Makai for a short bit, but obviously Chance, throughout the OT7 circuit and a handful of other tournaments. So it'd be pretty cool if they both pull up. We'll get some good content, have some good fun, and what else we want to talk about before we wrap this thing up and get ready to cover some football and get back at it.
I think for me, I'm really excited about the direction of this show. Obviously, shout out to the sponsor, but as the show progresses, I think just for those who've tapped into thus far, you'll see some changes. You'll see, just some things that we haven't done in the past. We've already started to incorporate, graphics and the live tweeting and Rob being at games every single week nationally. So, as this goes forward, I'm just excited about the direction and some of the changes that are in store. And from a football standpoint, for me, it's full steam ahead. So I'm 1,000% excited about what's next. It's going to be a couple nights of no sleep for a couple of days, but it's going to be great. It's all going to work out. And then college football kicks off this weekend. So then we really get busy.
College football does kick off this weekend, and I can relate to the no sleep. I was up till about 3 a.m. Thursday night and Friday night getting all the content, done, getting it out so that it was hot off the press so these kids could use it. They could check it out. They could, take their highlights and post them. And if you look at the impressions, man, it looks like they're liking it. So make sure you join us next week and every week going forward throughout the season. We're going to be incorporating different things, man. We got some big surprises coming. We got big giveaways coming. It's only going to continue to get bigger and better. And next week, we're going to incorporate some film, from my guy Brandon on some of the games that he's covering. So we're going to be fully locked in. But we're not stopping there. So make sure you stay tuned in. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you support the brand that supports you, Spotlight 39. That being said, you got any closing remarks before I throw the reason why we do this thing up here?
I was just about to say, just don't forget the reason why we do this thing.
Yeah, man. Look, we can never, ever forget why I do this thing. And if you don't know, make sure you check out the website, spotlight39.com. And we're talking about the 39 Hearts Foundation. Here's more information. Till next week, I'm Rob. That's Brandon. This is Spotlight 39 Live. I appreciate you. And next week, next Tuesday, we're kicking off our live film show. So make sure you tap in for that, too. We're going to be watching film for 2 hours, giving real-time feedback with my guy E, McCann, and Miller. So tap in next week. We're going hard. Let's get it.